The Burnout Society by Byung-Chul Han. 21st century society is no longer a disciplinary society, but rather, an achievement society. Also, its inhabitants are no longer obedience subjects but, achievement subjects. They are entrepreneurs of themselves. The positivity of can, is much more efficient, than the negativity of should. Therefore, the social unconscious switches from should to can. The achievement subject is faster and more productive than the obedience subject. The late modern ego stands utterly alone. Even religions, thanatotechnics, that would remove the fear of the death and produce a feeling of duration, have run their course. The general denarrativization of the world, is reinforcing the feeling of fleetingness. It makes life bare. Nietzsche already observed that, after the death of God, health rose to divine status. If a horizon of meaning extended beyond bare life, the cult of health would not be able to achieve this degree of absoluteness. All efforts to live lead to death. One's many friends on Facebook would offer further proof of the late modern ego's lack of character and definition. In positive terms, such a human being without character is flexible, able to assume any form, play any role, or perform any function. This shapelessness, or, alternatively flexibility, creates a high degree of economic efficiency. Melancholy is preceded with loss. Therefore it still stands in relation, namely, negative relation, to the absent thing or party. In contrast, depression is cut off from all relation and attachment. It utterly lacks gravity. Industrial disciplinary society relied on unchanging identity, whereas post-industrial achievement society requires a flexible person to heighten production. In contrast to the repressive superego, the ego ideal seduces. The achievement subject projects itself onto ego ideal, whereas the obedience subject subjects itself to the superego. Subjection and projection are two different modes of existence. The ego ideal exercises a positive compulsion on the ego. The negativity of the superego restricts the freedom of the ego. Projecting oneself into the ego ideal is interpreted as an act of freedom. When the ego gets caught in an unattainable ego ideal, it gets crushed altogether. The gap between the real ego and the ego ideal then bring forth autoaggression. The late modern achievement subject is subject to no one. In fact, it is no longer a subject in the etymological sense. It positivizes itself, indeed, it liberates itself into project. Starting at the certain level of production, self-exploitation is significantly more efficient and brings much greater returns. Auto-exploitation is more efficient because a deceptive feeling of freedom accompanies it. The exploiter is simultaneously the exploited. Concern about living the good life yields to hysteria of surviving. The reduction of life to biological, vital processes makes life itself bare and strips it of all narrativity. It takes livingness from life, which is much more complex than simple vitality and health. The inner logic of achievement society dictates its evolution into doping society. Life reduced to bare, Vital functioning life is life to be kept healthy unconditionally. Health is the new goddess. That is why bare life is holy. For Hegel, the sovereignty of the master derives from his rising above bare life and risking death itself in the process. Such excess, living and enjoying beyond measure, is alien to the slave, who worries only about bare life.